Leave me alone!
Hello, welcome to another video chat at God is a Geek. Today we are going to be talking about Star Wars Outlaws, and the man who has been playing it is Mr. Adam Cook, and he's joining me today. How are you doing, mate?
I'm excited because I've just realised the way you say it, it rhymes. Star
Did
Wars
it?
Outlaws.
Oh, yeah, I guess it does.
Never noticed that, and
well done.
there you go. That's
Yeah, no, nice. So, to dive straight in,
right.
What did you play in the preview of Star Wars Outlaws?
So I played actually. This is the really weird thing about this. Okay, so when we got the invite and knew how much we were going to play, it was like it's a 4-hour session.
Yeah.
Now you've done previews before, and that's quite a chunk of game. Like 4 hours is a heavy amount of. It's almost you go for a preview. It's maybe a bit too much. I don't know though. I came away going, I'm not sure it was enough, because the thing I come away from, and I'll say a lot of things in this chat, positive and negative, but the thing I come away thinking is that this is a very ambitious game. Okay. Like, scale and scope. Like, I couldn't help thinking, and I'm going to jump around a bit, but feel free to direct me to what you and perhaps our audience want to hear. But, like, for example, the transition between being on a planet, getting into a spaceship and going into space, and then going to another planet, and I know I'll annoy people with this, I couldn't help feeling like this is what Starfield should have done. Like, so it is a cutscene, like you taking off, but it was all just, it didn't feel...
It just feels quite fluid in the way it does it.
It was sort of, not, I don't want to say seamless because it's not a final build, but you got in your ship flies into space, you're now in space and can do space combat and space exploration-y stuff. And then you see, you've got a mission on that planet, so you go to that. So I played like a 3-hour section of what I think is the start of the game. I reckon there's a cutscene or two maybe before, but basically the start of the game. And then like we fast forwarded. I'm not sure to how much, but I would say fairly significantly given some of the upgrades I had. Not like 40 hours, but like we're a bit further on into the story. So that's what I played.
Yeah. So like the Star Wars games over time have been hit or miss. Obviously, the most recent ones have been the Jedi Survivor, Fallen Order ones. You've had Battlefront 2, Squadrons. I want this to be, and I know it won't be. I know you'll say it isn't, but I want this to be kind of like a Star Wars Mass Effect. I want a sprawling space opera, and it doesn't. I don't care about Jedi and Sith and all that, because Star Wars is much more than that. But all I care about is a strong story, which again you've probably not seen a lot of the story, but in terms of the actual gameplay, progression, how it feels to just get into this world and play, like what was that initial feeling like?
Well, so that's the really interesting thing for me, is that it's really quite interesting you say that in terms of what you want, because I don't think you're actually going to be disappointed then. Because I think what people assume this is it's Ubisoft, it's Star Wars Assassin's Creed, right?
Yeah.
I actually think the thing I felt the most from playing it is that I could tell this, yes, it's a Ubisoft game, yes, there are checklists, yes, there are icons, blah, 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 yes, it's a third-person game, but I actually felt, because it's developed, I think, by Massive Entertainment, who are like the Division, and although they're Ubisoft adjacent, they're not like the core Assassin's Creed or Far Cry, so I actually feel like this doesn't feel just like that. So, for example, the first thing I did, you get off a spaceship and you meet an alien and you're being attacked by people. And the first thing you do is you mark targets. And do you remember in Splinter Cell where you could mark targets, hit a button and it goes pew, pew, pew? That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's literally in this game. You build up a meter and you can use it. And then I'm like running and there's lots of talking, and then I'm on a space, cruiser, like I forget what they're called, the bike things. One of them, and then I'm doing that thing again because I'm being attacked by bandits, and it's all like, this is really cool. This is like an open world. I'm being attacked from all angles. They're all on these bikes. I've had to wait to build up my meter, and I can do the pew 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 again. And then you start to sort of, it goes quite not story heavy, but goes. It's a. Oh, I don't want to say Mass Effect now. You've said it, but it is. You go to a town and you start exploring that town, and from what I can tell, it's interesting you mentioned that you're not fussed about like Jedi and Sith and all that. I'm sure there'll be some of that. Like, it's Star Wars. But then maybe by not doing that, they get to be a bit more free, because Outlaws by name, Outlaws by nature. What this game seems to entail is it's more of a reputation-based system. So there are gangs, like of different. Well, there are different gangs who are all in competition and fighting one another, and you can do missions for those gangs and build your reputation. But by, say, you go with Gang A, you will harm. Early on in the story, there are two specific gangs that really are against one another, and you have to pick. Kind of, you can play the field a bit, but eventually, by improving your relationship with Gang A, Gang B will be like, you can't come in anymore. So you have to, like, when you do a mission for them, you have to find a way to stealth your way in. And stealth is a massive part of this game, which is not something I was expecting. Like, a massive part of this game. I was expecting, well, it's Star Wars, so I was expecting, pew-pews. Lots of them.
Yeah.
And there is combat. There's plenty of combat. I would say of the 4 hours I played, a tremendous amount of the actual missions I did were based around stealth, until they weren't, until, you have to, you go loud because you've messed up. It's the reason I said at the top of this that, like, 4 hours seemed like a lot and then it didn't, is because there's so much to the mission and structures that, like, there's menus where you can go in and you can see, like, your reputation with the gangs. And they, I never got one past, like, the first node or the second node, and there's like I forget now, but 3 or 4. So, like, and they will give you bonuses, and a lot of it is cosmetic stuff. But it's interesting because I really thought this was going to be, like you said, like I said, sorry, like an Assassin's Creed, action game. So far, the 4 hours I've played are heavily stealth based to the point, and you may, whoever's watching this may enjoy hearing this, or may just throw their hands up. There's an awful lot of instant fail in it, and that worries me slightly.
Okay.
Now I don't know if I just particularly those missions, but the thing that I think this game does really well, I really think it does the Star Wars well. Like, you will walk around. Look, again, there are you will hear repeated dialogue. There are certain sections where you hear, and I thought to myself, you've said that 3 times now, mate. That's a shame. Preview build might be different. Don't know. Don't know how old this build was. Don't know if it's the gold build. Don't know. But the actual Star Wars nature, that the sort of wandering around the towns, the cantinas. There's a lot of stuff happens in the cantinas. It does have that kind of Mass Effect system of, like, where you need to get to point B, but there are 3 ways of doing that. There's like, early on, there's one where you can just sneak in, you can bribe someone, or you can get a key card, and there's all these ways of doing it. The issue is, I feel like on the one hand, there's this really immersive feel to it, this really Star Wars feel that I'm like, they get it. What offsets that slightly is then when you're in a mission and it's like, don't get spotted by the alarms, you get spotted by the alarms, big letters come up on the screen saying, alerted, and it kicks you back out, and you either fail the mission or kick to the outs. If it's like a rival gang, they will kick you out or something, and you have to go back through again. But there's always sort of something. I felt like almost every mission, if you went loud, it's like, if you don't stop them getting the alarms quick enough, you are going to have an insta fail, and that felt slightly out of time with modern game. I'm not. Recent Spider-Man games have had them, but I feel like almost every mission I played had some sort of section where I could be booted out and text would come up on the screen. To counter that, what I will say is, once you get on your bike and you're just sort of pootling around the world, it feels really, really cool. It does feel like that sort of, you're exploring Star Wars planets. When you go up in space, it feels really cool. Like, the combat's interesting. It does have that thing where, a bit like I guess No Man's Sky, where you're just sort of moving around space and you'll spot something and you just go over to it, shoot it a bit, and you find stuff in a crate. First thing I did as soon as I got control of a ship was I just shot, and I shouldn't have, because the Star Wars Space Police, you know what I mean, were on me like a shot, and I was like, I realised straight away, like, oh, I'm not supposed to have aggroed them, they are going to destroy me, so I'm just going to let this happen, reload, and the exploration seems cool. The stealth, it's very typical video game stealth, in that I can walk right up to the side of you but because I haven't entered your forward-facing cone of vision, I can literally be next to a stormtrooper and just be crouched down next to him. And listen, video games, you know what I mean? It is what it is. I've seen it better. I've seen it a lot worse because I'm quite old. I was just a bit surprised by the amount of stealth. You can pick up like blasters and like, you know, rifles, but they're temporary. It seems you have her gun, her handheld single-held blaster, and it's upgradable through the game, is the impression I get. I did unlock an ability where you can switch the ammo so you can take down shields.
Okay.
So like if you have a shielded trooper come at you, you can shoot the shield, switch back to your, and it's got like a little active reload system to get you reloaded quicker. And it's also not Jedi Survivor. It's not that sort of level of platforming, but there is, you have a jump button. It's one of the worst lockpick games I've ever played in it. I'll say that. Now, I don't know, because if it was the way we were playing it and there was some latency involved, but my God. Yeah, and there's a lot of that as well, because a lot of it is you stealthing around, sneaking around and in and out of environments and stuff. So it's really strange, man. It's really strange, because I feel like this is such this is a game they really have shot for the stars with, so to speak. I don't want to be either. I'm sitting on the fence, mate, if I'm honest, at the moment.
Yeah.
Because there are parts of it that I'm like, I really can't wait to sit down with this on a big TV and chill out on the sofa. And there are parts of it where I'm like, that's really strange. Like, I think it's one you'll enjoy a lot. But I think as well, and again, this is total guesswork, I think this is a huge game. Like a huge game. I really got the impression that this is I suppose that's what Ubisoft do. The Assassin's Creed games are 80 to 100 hours, aren't they now? And I got that feeling big time. Like it felt like 4 hours. Like I say, you go in and you think, God, 4 hours is a lot to preview a game, and then you start playing it and you're like, okay,
Yeah, I just kind of don't want it to be arbitrary in length sometimes. Like I want everything to. I'd rather have a game that's a lot shorter, where the missions are.
See, this again, and this might be because I was previewing it, and there was an element of I wanted to see as much as I could, but also not see too much, if that makes sense. That it felt like everyone had something to say to me, and everyone had a mission for me, and that's either good or bad, and I can't really decide that for anyone. I think there's a lot to this game. I'm interested to see how the combat evolves, because that's a concern. But then also, the combat felt most of the time like it was because I'd messed up stealth.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure the combat is like the focus. I do feel like you are a lot of the time, and again, preview build, don't know what else the rest of the game has, and if it's an 80-hour game, I played 4 hours of it. But like a lot of the time, it felt like you are sneaking around bases and environments you're not supposed to be in, so you're not really meant to go loud. And it feels, like I don't know, it seems like a good game. But that's as far as I would be willing to go with it at this point without more hours. Like, there's some... I have concerns. I have a few concerns. There are things I like, and there are things I'm concerned about.
I've been excited for it, but I do also... Like, the world of Star Wars is what's important in these games, because when you've got an open world game that is in Star Wars, you expect a certain level of, authenticity within the product.
But that's why I think that's where I do think it's what I've played has been successful. Like I went to a few planets and they felt different. One was like a really snowy planet and it felt authentically different. The other one was more like, I guess, the movie sort of, when you go into the cantinas and stuff, it felt more grimy like that. Like, they did feel authentic. I think most of my concerns are more mechanic than setting and like it just it's a really interesting game, because I say it feels so ambitious, and I don't know how it's going to land. We'll see, I guess, soon.
Yeah, I guess we will.
Actually.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me, Adam, and talking about that. You can read Adam's written preview on the God is Geek website. You can also subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/God is Geek for early videos, Patreon chat, exclusive bits and pieces always drop in there. Also, like this video, subscribe to the channel for more written previews, reviews, all kinds of content. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.